Hello.
You trusting me to do the
No, I'm
introduction?
not trusting you to do this introduction. I'm going to throw out some hip term and it's not going to be hip.
I'm hip. I'm with it. Okay, so we're back. We've had a lot of questions on, I feel like mostly Instagram, like DMs or Moment for Mom,
Yeah.
of parents that are expecting another baby and they're really worried about their current
Their
child,
older child.
their older child's status
Yeah.
of how they're going to do.
Yeah.
And more so thinking less about how to even get ready for this new baby, but more so just like, what can I do for the child that's already here?
Yeah.
And a lot of these parents, their kids are close together.
Yeah.
Like they're going to be two under two.
Yeah. I mean, I think that that's like one important piece to note with the examples that we'll give today is most of them are geared towards kids who are in like the 2 to 4 year old range.
Mm-hmm.
And you're expecting another child. So when we give these tips, just obviously like evaluate your own child's age, like what you feel like they're able to comprehend, whether that's less than what we're offering up or more than what we're offering up. Like for example, when you're thinking about what you can do to prep during pregnancy,
Mm-hmm.
like if you can read a book about what to expect with the baby, like that's going to be like a picture book, right, for a 2 year old, or
Right.
maybe like a more in-depth book if you're talking about like a 5 or 6 year old.
I also would consider their temperament. I think by now you are learning about your child and their sort of personality.
Yep.
And some kids out there are more flexible when it comes to sleep, and some kids are less flexible. Some are more flexible about mealtime, some are not. Some get hot and bothered pretty quickly, and some are more easy breezy, right? Like
Yeah,
their temperament at this
totally.
point, and that's going to play into this a little bit as well.
Right, for sure.
So,
Yeah, I think that if we're going to start with what you can do during pregnancy to sort of prep the older sibling for baby. I mean, I just gave the example of reading a book. If you can find an age appropriate book, there's a bunch of them out there, right? But find an age appropriate book to read with the older child. I think that would be great. It's not something you have to read every night.
yeah, for
Yeah,
9 months.
yeah. But maybe it's something that is in your rotation.
Right.
If they want, like if they're going to pick that book and they want to read it, like absolutely read it whenever they want to.
Right.
But something that can get them can something that can help start explaining the process, whether that's a book or you just actually like talking about it, you, your partner talking about it more. When you start setting up the nursery or baby things are coming to the house, explaining what they are, what they're used for, try and add that element of explanation to any age child about sort of what's going on in the transition that's happening.
Some parents do imaginary play too.
Yep.
So maybe you're not reading a book, but during the day when you're playing with your toddler, we used to do this for bedtime actually, but you can do it for anything really.
Yeah.
Anything that you're trying to get your toddler to understand or be more comfortable with or transition with better, you can actually play it out with them.
Yep.
So you'd be like, this is the baby. Let's change the baby's diaper. Let's
Yep.
swaddle the baby. Let's pat the baby. Like you literally can play it with them and they start to understand.
Yeah. So if you don't have, again, depending on the age of the child, but if you don't have like baby doll, stroller, like little bassinet, high chair, like there are things that you don't need all these things, but there are things that you can get at the very least. Start with maybe like a baby doll, and actually let that have it be a toy.
Really cute, inexpensive things like this at TJ Maxx and Home Goods, like a tiny little crib or a high chair, blanket, baby doll, done. They love it.
Yeah.
Especially once the actual baby's here. I noticed when I brought Maddie home, Grace would be very focused on her baby doll and like diapering it and putting a blanket on it. So when I was doing stuff with Maddie, she was very busy with her baby. It was cute.
Yeah. I mean, I think that I think that plays into a little bit of like when you're explaining what things are used for, and also setting up spaces. Like, I think one of the important things to think about, and again, it's never too soon to start talking about this with your older child, but think about what you want to set up for spaces in your house, a space that's just for the older sibling or siblings, so that they can be in that space and the baby's not going to be in that space and they have territory over that space. Like that's actually a good thing. Yeah.
Protected real estate.
Yeah. A space that's just for the baby. So when I think about that, like I'm thinking about like safety stuff, like maybe like the changing tables, like just for the baby, the toddler is not going to be with you. or the older child is going to be with you like by the changing table or on the changing table,
Mhm.
but a space that's just for the baby, so that the baby has that space and your older child isn't going to be in that space, and then a shared space. So if you have like a play mat, or one of those like rug, comfortable rugs that you can put on the ground that will have toys that can be shared toys, right? So bigger items, those little small tiny toys, Legos, the little pieces that maybe come with the babies and things like the baby dolls. Maybe those are in the older child space, right? So an area that's for both kids to be in, that maybe your older child can help you with the baby, and things that you're doing with the baby that are things that they're allowed to help you with, right? And that space is like just for certain toys too.
You don't need a big house to do this.
No.
I live in a very small condo. And when we brought home Eloise, I mean, you've seen the downstairs of my house. It looks like a Bright Horizon Center, but I did have in the living room, a changing table with all of her clothes and all of her diapers, a baby swing and a vibrating chair. And that was like in a corner of the living room. And that was her area. And then the shared space was sort of out where the TV was, but this was huge. I had to gut that toy area and get rid of all of the little stuff, but I can't just throw it all out. I know a lot of parents just ditch it all, but like my girls will notice the Barbie shoes or like the accessories that have gone missing. So the shared space became the TV area with like, I always told the girls anything that was, because their hands are small, the size of their hand or bigger could be in the shared space. But if it was smaller than their hand, it had to go upstairs. And I made Grace and Maddie's room. That's where like the Lego table is, the Barbie dream house, and Eloise just can't play in there. And they loved that too, because they can go upstairs and shut the door and like that's their space. Right. So you don't need a lot of space to make a space.
You think that you do the way that we're describing it, like you have to have these three spaces, but we're talking about, I mean, one of the spaces is the size of a changing table, right?
People will DM on Instagram and be like, can you please show the inside of your house? And I'm like, no, I can't. It's too embarrassing. There's like a Peloton next to a swing, next to a diaper changer, next to the kitchen oven where you bake. Like,
that is exactly what it is.
Yes. Anyway, don't need a lot of space, but I do love that concept of like, that's your space, this is our space.
And then start talking about like the things that your older child can help you with, and the things that like you're just going to do for the baby.
Like you can't change the baby's diaper, but you can throw the diaper out. Right. They love throwing the diaper out.
Or while I'm changing the baby's diaper, like you can change your baby's diaper, right?
Exactly.
So thinking about what you can tell them they can do, while also simultaneously telling them what they cannot do.
I was like, change my baby's diaper, pick out the baby's clothes for the day. Like, do you want to pick out their pajamas tonight? Do you want to pick out their socks that they're wearing today? Anything that they can do. They think they're so big time. So
when we're thinking about things that can really impact especially toddler, but preschool age, older child's life, it really is around like what you mentioned earlier, like schedules, routine, mealtime, drop off, pick up, like bedtime.
I always use the word steady. Keep the routine steady.
So
because I listened to this podcast and they were describing parenting like turbulence on an airplane. And when you hit turbulence, if you panic and you're not steady, then everyone around you panics. So you got to like keep steady through the turbulence. But really that it's not just for your kid, it's for you too as the parent.
For sure.
You need to keep your child's routine consistent, meaning about what time they wake up, about what time they go to bed. Basic stuff like eating meals, having snack, reading, quiet time, mealtime, like brushing teeth, like all the tiny things, being steady and consistent on that. And kids are super visual. So I feel like if you are going to do a visual chart or calendar, it's awesome if you can implement it before the baby's here, because then they're just used to it. So like in the morning when you're getting up with the baby, like, you start on your checklist, basically. Brush your teeth, get dressed, eat breakfast, like very simple stuff. And I say keep your routine steady too, like you and your partner, you or your family. And that goes into who does drop off, who does pick up, who does bedtime, who packs the lunches. Can we actually keep that? It can change, to be clear, but can we have some like predictability for the child in that change?
This is particularly important when you're going from one child to two. Because where you maybe do bedtime every night with your older kid or tub or whatever, you can decide that you're going to continue to do that, but then somebody's doing bedtime with the baby, right? Like then your partner's, so like this is particularly important that now before the baby comes, you and your partner need to sit down and decide who is doing what, who is getting up in the morning, who is doing drop off, who is doing pickup, who is doing the bedtime routine, who is doing bedtime, like all of those things. And then obviously this goes down into like a lot of the other like nitty gritty details. And it doesn't have to be, it can be the same parent doing the same thing all the time. It really can. Like you can decide, even if you were doing bedtime up until now with your older child, that your partner is going to start taking over bedtime with them. That's totally fine. Then start it during pregnancy.
Right.
Otherwise it's a really big change. And you can, and your partner can just do bedtime with the older child, and you can do bedtime with the baby. That can be what you do, or you can alternate, but you have to alternate on a predictable schedule. Honestly, we say that it's for the kid, but it's also for you. You don't want to come in to the evening being like, no, I'll take the big kid tonight, or you, and then all of a sudden, you know, you're fighting over who's doing what, or like you or your partner end up doing both. Like it's not fair. So it's for everybody.
Yeah, doing both, like no thanks.
No, right.
So, but I do think if you're going to take turns every other night, it's just so seamless, because especially for the child, you can say, last night mommy did it, tonight daddy's doing it, or whatever. Like you know, whoever's doing it, but you're alternating it.
Yep. And that can be on, if you have a calendar with pictures or words, like again, depending on the age of your kid, like that can be on the calendar too. Like
some
today's
Velcro
like,
and just put stuff up.
Yes. Yeah. But be consistent with what that is. Make sure you are verbalizing that to the older child.
Right.
If there are changes that are going to be made to the schedule once the baby is here, try and implement those changes before the baby arrives. So really think about that. What do you want that routine to look like with you and your partner? And are there any major changes? And if there are, then implement those changes now.
Before we move on to pregnancy, I was just thinking of one quick little tidbit, which is that a lot of times when parents bring a new baby home, they might, for some reason, take their child out of daycare for a little bit, or cancel their nanny.
They're going to be home
for a little bit because they're going to be home. Maybe not. Maybe they say like, well, we're not going to do that for months, but the first week home or the first 2 weeks home, we're going to do it as a family, so we can all be together.
Don't do it.
That can be really, really hard on the toddler.
On everyone.
Well,
that is a bad idea.
It's a bad idea. I'm trying to be soft about it, but it's just a bad idea, guys. Like it's a bad idea. Like don't do it.
No. Nope.
No.
Like make your life easier by keeping everything the way that it is and adding in even more help.
Right. It's going to be such a big transition for this child already, than to like all of a sudden not have their regular childcare show up or get dropped off at the regular daycare. They're going to be thrown big time.
Keep everything.
Plus now they're home with you all day and they're not used to that. And there's a baby there that's like crying and taking up all your attention. It happens a lot though. So I just had to throw it out there.
I know. Yeah,
that would be some like top tier advice right there.
Yeah. No.
Also lived that. Just
bad idea. Don't do that.
But let's talk about once the baby's here.
And also
some good ideas.
yeah. I mean, I think this is playing into what you're saying too. Right. Like, especially if you have people, again, you guys, helpers versus visitors, know the difference. Visitors are not allowed. Helpers are. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go back to the episode. I think it's episode
first
3.
Episode.
No, it's not. It's newborn sleep.
Yeah.
I believe it's episode 3. If not, it's episode 2. It's right at the beginning. But when helpers are coming over, especially family members, I feel like think about helpers in a way where like maybe they can actually like think about it in a few different ways. One is, can they do something with your older child or the baby or the baby,
right?
So that you can do something for yourself. Like you're going to do something alone, right? Can they do something with the baby so that you can do something with the older child one-on-one?
Yep.
Or can they do something with the older child so that you have time with the baby? So think about how you want them to help you. Think about what is sort of where you sort of might need to be focusing your attention at any given moment or day. It might be that like the toddler really needs some attention. If you are going to give them attention, guys, you're talking about, 10 minutes of uninterrupted play with a younger kid that really just Uninterrupted play just means you're giving them your attention. You're not on your phone. You're not interrupting them
TV's
with,
off.
right.
And the baby's not in the room.
Yeah.
That's also key. Even if the baby's asleep in the swing, you're still taking that toddler like somewhere else, just them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
thinking about your big tip about,
oh man, I tell people this all the time. So one of the I honestly don't even remember where this came from. I wish I could. I have no idea where this came from. I've been saying this for a long time now, but maybe it was an original thought, but I doubt it.
Okay,
but yeah, I don't know. But your older child is going to get so used to hearing like, no, I can't do that right now.
Not right now.
Not right now when I'm done feeding the baby. I'm changing the baby's diaper. I'll do that and do that in a minute, right? They're going to get so used to you sort of saying like, in a minute, not right now, no, to things that they're requesting. And so when you do finally have the time to engage in play or conversation or sit down and email, whatever, it doesn't matter, but you're going to engage with the older sibling. And the baby's likely going to be asleep. Or maybe somebody else is holding the baby.
1 week old and doesn't know.
And 1 week old and like can't see past its nose.
Can't even see.
You are going to say to the baby, baby, I can't play with you right now because I'm going to play with your brother or sister, right? Guys, I'm telling you, especially for the younger kids, like 5 and under, it goes such a long
Jamie
way.
Had told me this, and when Eloise was a newborn, I did it. Grace seemed to be fine, but Maddie was
wanted your attention.
4 to 5-ish. How the heck old was she? 4. She really, really wanted a lot of attention. And then I had this memory of Jamie saying this, and it felt kind of funny. It was great.
Oh, it's so ridiculous.
I swaddled Eloise, and she was stone cold asleep in the Fisher Price swing.
Yep.
And I had told Maddie we were going to hang out, and I knew Maddie was right there, and I just go, Eloise, I cannot play with you right now. I am going upstairs to play with Maddie. Yep. Nope, you cannot bother me. I did a whole big production, and Maddie had this like shit-eating grin on her face. Yeah. Like she was just so delighted by this, like kind of laughing a little bit, like, is she serious? Oh my God. Yeah. And then we went upstairs and we did something, just the two of us. Yeah. I had told my husband, like, to watch the baby. Obviously it wouldn't be Grace, but
but it goes a long way when the older kid, and it really doesn't matter their age, I guess, but like it goes a long way when the older kid is used to the one hearing like, just a minute, not right now, like, no, right? Yep. For you to say to the baby, it means nothing to the baby, right? Like it's
like, well, like we said, they can't even see.
It goes a long way. So I love that tip. I do. And
we should talk about regressions too. Yeah. Like keep in mind, especially these, I don't know, 1, 2, 3-year-olds. It could be 4. It could be all of them, right? Yeah. But you'll start to see all of a sudden they're not listening. Or you ask them to do something, you ask them to put their shoes on and they throw their shoes across the room. Yeah. Or they're having tantrums and you're like, what is happening? Where is this coming from? Yeah. They're literally just testing boundaries and limits to see how much has changed, if at all. They're like, ooh, things are new. There's a baby here. Let me just, even if it's the years gone by that they've been so good, they're like, let me just retest this old boundary.
Right. They're not watching.
See what I can get out of it. Yeah. How much has really changed now that this baby's here? Maybe I can get away with throwing a temper tantrum or not putting my shoes on. Yep. So, but don't play in, don't get upset about it. Don't play into it. Just remind yourself, like, they're just retesting you.
And I would take it one step further and like ask yourself, how is their behavior informing you about what their needs might be? Right. So maybe it is they're throwing tantrums around transitions, like around getting out of the house in the morning. Is it because like something has changed with that? It was you who always did it. Now your partner's doing it. Right. It is that maybe they didn't go to school one day.
So they don't want to go again the next day.
Right. But you guys know this because you already have this kid at home. Like as soon as it's give an inch, take a mile. As soon as you not let them brush their teeth one night, they're going to give you a hard time about brushing their teeth every night for what feels like several weeks. Right. So what is it informing you about? What is their behavior informing you about what they need? Is it that they need the consistency? Maybe it's informing you that they need the one-on-one time. So like, can you talk to them about, can you schedule one-on-one time either with you or your partner? It doesn't matter who it is.
It's hard to do it in the moment because 100%. You're like hot and bothered, and tensions are high, and you're just like, oh, like, why is this
Just get out of the
happening?
house, right?
Just get your shoes on and go.
Yeah.
But then take a deep breath and remind yourself, like, okay, this is why, and you'll get back on track.
And you're hot and bothered too, because it's a big transition for you too. So
You're
like,
hormonal.
right. So if
Literally
it's a big,
sweating.
if it's a big transition for you as an adult and you're having a hard time managing it, then why is our expectation of the child that they'll be able to manage it too?
Totally.
Right? Like if you're struggling, then it's totally normal and valid for your child to be struggling too. And just remember that like anything in parenting, it's a phase, it's temporary, it will get better. The key to, if things are tough, the key to it getting better is just remaining consistent, giving yourself some grace and some time, and leaning into, I mean, we go into detail, I feel like in the one where we talk about like the transition, the episode where we talk about the transition from a family of 3 to a family of 4 or more.
Yeah.
But that it just that transition takes time, and you really just like need to lean into the resources and the help and the people that you have around you to help you get through this transition. But it's not going to last forever. It's going to be fine. And honestly, like these are just tips for things that might come up in like the worst case scenario. It might not even be like this for you.
Right.
And like, that's great too, you know?
Yep.
But however this unfolds for you, it's totally fine. It's only temporary. And this time that you have with a baby and an older child or more at home doesn't last forever.
Nope.
Yeah. Goes by fast, for better or worse. Right? Maybe for the better if you're in it and it's not going well, but it will end. So just hang in there. Let us know if you need anything.
All right.
All right.
See you soon.
Bye.